Bigfoot Society would like to thank the following sponsors for helping make the podcast possible. The Singular Fortean Society has combined open and honest paranormal investigation and journalism since 2016. Visit the Society at Singular Fortean for all the latest weird news and more. Come with us and investigate the impossible. Lauren Smith is the hostess for Nightcaller's Bigfoot Radio, which has been on air for over a decade and has completed over 300 shows. Lauren brings with her a unique viewpoint given that she is not only the daughter of one of the veteran female Bigfoot researchers in the South, but she has been conducting field research since she was a preteen some 20 years ago. Nightcallers is a Bigfoot world favorite and, along with interviewing researchers and witnesses, often features interviews with guests from the documentary, film, and entertainment industry. Lauren also does a vidcast segment called Nightcallers, which features real encounters sent in by viewers. You can find all of this and more at nightcallersproductions.com. Ending Saturday, April 17th, 2021. Let's get started. We've got all sorts of things going on here. And again, if you do raise your hand and come up on stage, it is a thing where this is recorded and it will be put up on YouTube. Maybe other things as well, but let's get started. So first thing I definitely want to share is my friends over at Wild and Weird, West Virginia, have released a very cool mini documentary this week called Wineberry, and this is a 20-minute video about how they are looking into a Bigfoot track that they found in West Virginia in their area, and it is a very cool short little movie. You can watch it today, which I definitely recommend. I'll have the. So again, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. All this is Jeremiah with the Bigfoot Society. Definitely Joe Purdue. I've had him on the podcast. If you're listening to this, he is a super cool guy, podcast player. But hopefully we're in the Bigfoot Society Clubhouse right now. The club for us, and the next news I'll just kind of start up the discussion tonight. So my name is Jeremiah, of course. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I think you'll be able to get the idea. Cryptozoology for quite a while. Remote work program announced in West Virginia. So we know that West Virginia is a thing for cryptids. So if you're a person where you're like, hey, I might want to move to a place with a lot of cryptids, well, why not move to a place that's going to give you a $12,000 cash incentive and $10,000 paid in monthly installments over the first year, with $2,000 at the end of the second year, and also including 1 year of free outdoor recreation. West Virginia, and then, as of this Monday, is starting a new work remote program. So, hey, if you're in the market to try to get closer to where the cryptid action is, about a year ago, definitely check out this new remote work program that West Virginia has started interviewing. Pretty cool stuff to do with cryptozoology, and then I've really been able to talk to. And again, as I'm reading through these stories, if you have anything, any comments, feel free to raise your hand. But let's continue. Evan B. Stone from Expedition. Next article is Russian government official admits to faking so many cool Yeti sightings from all this is all from walks of life, but they do have something to do with Sharon, I'm going to bring you up on stage here. I am going to Dr. Meldrum. That was a really fun time. The article real quick. So enough this is from Mysterious. Well, I would say my favorite thing to do. So pretty much what it is there's this guy in Russia. And they had a cool reward for someone if you can capture a Yeti of approximately $13,000. I'm going to go ahead and or 1 million rubles. People started coming, rushed to scour the forest. Of course, no one found the Yeti, but hey, sure, attracted pass the mic here, but attention. For people listening down the audience, if you want to come up, it even goes to the introduce point yourself. This gentleman says things about yourself, kind of get involved with the ante by ordering a subordinate to find someone tall, throw off his office, one of the moderators, fur coat inside out, and run around. I'm going to go ahead and pick on warn them not to get Keith first. Why don't you go ahead and share, man? Of course, that didn't work.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Can you hear me all right, Jeremiah?
Sounds I feel like we might have.
Okay, awesome. Yes, my name is Keith Rollins. You can find me on Instagram.
You can see the parallels of what's going on in the U.S. here. And
the first thing I'd like to say would be,
please don't have someone go out.
I'd like to kind of go in reverse of what Jeremiah did and say my favorite thing about
shot, rather. Sharon, I'd be curious what thoughts you have regarding this.
And that's really the community that is formed.
So back in the day, 2011,
there's a bunch of great people people, really intelligent people, really awesome people that it's fun to have conversations with, and who knows where the rabbit hole can really lead. One of the ways that I got into cryptozoology and everything is I was, maybe an early teenager, and a movie came out called The Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere, and watched that movie, and I was just like, what in the world? One of the things that caught me is like it's based on true events. So once you go into the rabbit hole, you just sink in further and just start really getting hooked with the unknown. And that was my first kind of foray.
I'm not sure if many of you remember
most where I live, where I'm from, most of
at a Bigfoot conference,
the biggest talk of the town is the Bigfoot, so it kind of fell into the
really
Bigfoot,
angry that they were clearly duped. And some
fanatic,
says was
huge Bigfoot fan base, and it's fun to interact with a lot of people around here that have had
broken branch
either sightings or have
footprints. They were taken to the cave
in the woods just because of how it is, and
everything looked like it had been staged.
Yeah, that's currently
at one point where they even
my
pointed out there was a
things
nest
about cryptozoology and kind of how I got
Meldrum
into it.
says that it
I
doesn't
will
look
pick,
like it's actually been used.
Let's see, I'll go ahead and pick.
He said birds have
Kenzie
jumped
to
in the
share
nest
next if you're there,
and tried to.
Thank you. Hi everyone.
That,
I'm
look,
Kenzie.
Perfect size
I am
for a Yeti.
the host of the Cryptozoology podcast.
It was incredible what he was. He was saying that they were doing. They also brought in a Michigan woman, Pfeiffer, who claimed that Bigfoot was living on her farm there, and
a fun story for me. When I was a child,
he said it was
my
just
dad actually
outrageous.
really
People were
investigation.
confronting each other about the evidence. They were yelling at each other. They were
probably
it was just. Meldrum made a joke about dropping a Cliff Bar on the ground and said, "Oh look,
investigating with him,
Yeti poop."
And
I mean, it was just a catastrophe, and when he got back,
despite my mom's
it was just
wishes
another
to
case of where they were clearly trying to promote tourism. At one point, he says that all the scientists and researchers there were asked to sign a press release that said scientists believe 95% certainty that Yeti exists here in the Kemerovo region. And Meldrum said, "I'm not going to sign that.
Wow,
Science doesn't work by consensus
she
like
kind of
this."
made
So
her way
yeah, I do have I found the article up.
When I was a kid, she was
back in my
babysitting me a
archives,
lot.
so I do have it up. The link is on my Twitter, which is
very
I
much
doubt
like,
it. If anyone wants to read
like
it,
this kind of weird stuff.
It was just astounding what he told me had happened. I just wanted to share that.
When I was a
Oh,
child,
I appreciate that, Sharon. It's
like,
crazy
really to a lot of it,
what can happen when
threw myself into
when tourism gets
the
involved.
rabbit
But
hole
thankfully,
paranormal,
Dr. Meldrum
cryptozoology,
had
and
the
ufology.
sounds like he had the clarity of mind not to get
for me,
overly involved with anything too crazy.
I don't know. I've made a lot of really cool friends.
So let's see. Next up on the docket, of course, I'm gonna work it in because this was released this last week. Scheduled release for Van Meter Visitor Festival. This is my favorite thing.
And I'm gonna go ahead
100%. So here we go. If in case you're not aware, this is a one-day festival that takes place just west of Des Moines, Iowa, in a small town where, of course, you had the Van Meter Visitor sighting in 1903. But there are going to be some solid speakers this year. I mean, really, they're going from 12:30 noon time all the way up to 6:30. It's crazy. We got Steve Ward, who is a great speaker about Mothman and high strangeness. We got Kevin Lee Nelson talking about Wendigo lore, of course, one of the authors of the Van Meter Visitor book. We've got Indigenous Cryptids, of course, by Allison Jornlin. I know I've seen her on Clubhouse, I think hanging around in a few of Sharon's rooms. Chad Lewis is doing a tour of the town. There's a walking tour. There's a bus tour as well. I've got my friend Nash Hoover doing a Sasquatch Around the World presentation, which that should be pretty intense. We also got Zelia Edgar there talking about UFO occupant clothing, which should be very interesting. We've got Ken Gearhard talking about strange cases of flying cryptids, which I'm super excited about. Monsters of America by David Weatherly
always want to know
another huge name, and man, that could be over anything. So I'm excited for that as well. And then there's another tour at 7:45, kind of the night before as well. There's a special VIP tour, and then there's also a showing of a documentary about the Van Meter visitor, which would be pretty cool. It's the first time there's been a documentary made about it, which I'm excited about. Let's move on. Here we've got a movie premiere of On the Trail, Bigfoot, The Journey happening today in just a few hours, actually. If you're in the Canton, Ohio area, you can go to the Canton Palace Theater. Doors are opening at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to say tickets are $7. You want to check ahead of time if you're actually going to go, because I'm not sure if they're sold at the door.
I am so excited,
Either way,
Cliff, that you
if you did the Kickstarter, I also heard that you should have access to watching
content.
On the Trail, Bigfoot, The Journey, which is
really
super
fun.
amazing.
Ahead,
documentary by Seth Breedlove and Small Town Monsters. It's super good. Jeff, Greg, come on up, man. I'm going to bring you up here.
I don't know why it's on a
he does have something to say. Greg, what's going on, man?
Strange Times indeed with Cliff McAllister.
It's going good, man. How are you?
Doing well.
Have witnessed paranormal things. So that's what I do.
To confirm
but when
that yes,
I started getting interested
On
in
the
the
Trail of
paranormal and
Bigfoot,
especially
The Journey is
cryptids, I
available
had this
to the
childhood
Kickstarter
obsession
backers
with
now.
monsters, and
I
I
got
remember in our
my
elementary
email this morning.
school library there was,
so everybody can watch that, and of course we got lots of buddies in that
Universal
movie,
movie
Aleks,
monsters.
Petakov, and
But then
Mike
at one
and
point in the
Tactical
non-fiction
Bigfoot
section of the library, I found this book
are
about
the
like
guys
Maryland
from
and Virginia, like
Wild and Weird West
cryptids
Virginia
of like
in
the
it too,
East
Joe
Coast.
and Ron.
And there was something like so fascinating about
You've
it.
seen it, right, Jeremiah?
Yes, I have.
This image of the
I wanna
Mothman
say-
like peering through.
Oh no,
They're
they're in the
not. They're in
UFO one.
Finding Bigfoot.
With just like these bright eyes, and the story
They're
that
gonna be in
described
the
the
UFO one,
Mothman.
I think.
Was,
Sorry,
oh, no,
Greg. I
I'm
know
told I
so
have a
much
poor
stuff in
connection.
my head right now. I have to
Am I
like
back?
think
I'm still
through.
here.
Oh,
what I
you're
can
good.
say
Just
and what I
yep.
can't
Just
say.
plow on through it.
But
That's
no,
all right.
Finding
either.
Bigfoot return.
So and it had this picture
Yeah,
of the
we won't give
Mothman in
any
the
spoilers.
book
I
that,
haven't
like,
watched.
as a
I haven't watched
child,
the
like,
journey yet, but
had me
I
afraid
plan on
of
watching it
windows
tonight.
for a good month,
And
I
I'll
just
put up a
kept this
review
like
with no spoilers
fascination.
in it.
Like anytime there was a delayed opening
Other
at
news
school, I'd be
I've
watching
personally
sightings
come
on the
across.
Sci-Fi Channel. When the big
we
cartoon
have,
for me as a kid was Invader
Mothboy
Zim.
Mike
I
and Danner from
I
Conjure
identified
Desk
as a
Design
dib as a kid,
touring
and now
West Virginia
I
this
feel like
this
I'm more of
week,
a Zim.
promoting
who
their
can
book,
say?
giving it out to
So
libraries.
that's me. That's
Check out
that's
their
my love of
Instagrams
the
at
paranormal and
Michael
cryptozoology,
David
or at least
Shang
how I got started.
and at Conjure
And
Desk
Cliff lives
Design
in the
on
same town as
Instagram.
me,
They got
and I'm
lots of
going to
cool
drag him to
pictures from
every
all over
Snallygaster
West
event for the
Virginia
rest of
going
his
on
life.
there.
And I
And
will
also
gladly go.
directly from Mothboy Matt,
I'm gonna say
there will
synchronicity,
be
kids. The
a
synchronicity
Mothboys
that Cliff and
festival
Sarah
this
live in
year
the same town is
in
probably the best
Morgantown,
thing
West
ever.
Virginia.
But I'm
And that's
excited
looking
that
like
you are
early August.
hanging out
August
with us
7th,
on
I believe, is
Clubhouse
the tentative
now,
date
Cliff,
at this
and
point.
keep doing your good work,
And
man.
those
Do
are
you
the
mind picking a
entertainment
name from the group up here
items
to
that I
pass
got
the mic
for
to?
you all.
Absolutely.
Dude, that's
and
awesome.
An absolute
I'm
pleasure
glad
to
you
join
brought
all
up
here
actually
who
all that
take
stuff.
this so
A few of them
seriously.
I was
Who
going to talk
hasn't
about,
gone yet?
and
Is there
I
a way to
was.
tell?
You can do
So
Aleks or
the
Tate
the
or
Mothboy
Mike
Matt thing
or
is
Greg.
that's out to the public
Take it
now. That's
away.
pretty cool.
Hello. So we're just doing introductions.
I'm gonna hope it is. If
Sure.
not,
Well,
yeah,
it's out-
Tate. So you can
it's
go
out to
ahead
the
and
Clubhouse
introduce
members now.
Okay,
who you
cool.
are, how you
All
got
right,
into
awesome.
cryptozoology, and what are your favorite things
man, I
about
love
it.
it.
I love it. Yeah, definitely. If you
So,
haven't
my
checked out
name's Tate
Mothman Learns the
Hieronymus.
ABCs, that is a
I
solid
am no
book for
relation to
kids
Bob
and also
Ron,
for
which
adults
is
because
an
there's like
infamous name
there's some
in the
funny
Bigfoot
jokes in there
community.
too. You'll get as you're reading it to your
But
kid, or
run
you know.
the,
If
I
you just
host
want
the
to read
Bluff
it, like get it for yourself,
podcast.
that's fine too. Get a copy for your
I
local
work with the
library.
Bluff
I'm
Project
so
up in Northern California,
so pleased
and
that they were able to
that's
drive
how I
around
really
West
got
Virginia
into
and
my
donate them to local
Bigfooting
libraries. Very
career,
cool.
if you will.
So if you haven't picked
So
one
that's
up,
kind of what I've been doing.
pick
My
one up.
favorite part
Also,
about it
pick
is
one up
actually
to
just
donate.
being out in the
I'll have
wilderness
the
with
Etsy
friends,
link.
and
You can get it
if
on
I don't hear
Etsy or
anything,
Amazon, but the
that's a bummer,
Etsy
but
link
you
is
know
going to
what?
be a better
It's always a
experience
good
all
time,
around,
no
I
matter
would say.
what. Hearing something's
Let's
a plus,
continue
but
with
being
some
friends and having a good time is
with some
probably the
entertainment
best
news
part of
here. So we got some
doing
interesting
research
stuff
and
coming up. I'm going to have an
kind of just being
article
out there
where
and having fun.
Hulu's Sasquatch documentary director,
Quick rundown.
there's an interesting article I'll have linked where, so this is going to be a pretty intense documentary series.
Is anyone else
on
hearing
Hulu where it's going to be about? It's going to
Yeah, I'm
include,
definitely hearing that too.
That's the
cannabis
it's the Men in
farmers,
Black
but
trying
there's
to
going to be a
infiltrate.
Bigfoot
No,
attack.
I have no idea
And there's
what
going to be all
that's from.
sorts of stuff. So definitely go ahead and
everyone on the
check
stage
that
had their
out.
mics
There's
muted, so I don't know
also
if that's really weird.
Dude,
an
that
interesting
was weird as crud.
It's a
I only heard
mockumentary,
it when
so
you turned your
15
mic
things you didn't know about Bigfoot, and it's about a
that
guy.
weirds me out. I thought it was
It's
my
a kind of
pod
a
track
comedy
doing
thing,
weird stuff,
but
everyone
he
else
hooks up with
heard,
a
all right, well, let's just
cryptid-
keep going,
cryptid
Tate.
rock
Who
star,
would you like
and,
to
I think this is
speak
just going to be a
next?
silly, fun mockumentary
Oh,
office style thing.
Let's do Alex.
I would probably watch it
Cool,
yourself
thanks,
before you
Tate.
watch it with
How's it
kids,
going,
because I think it
everybody?
might get a little
Awesome
wild.
to
But
have everybody
I'll have
here.
the link to that
Welcome.
as well.
Obviously, everyone, a lot of familiar faces. Anyone
My
who's new,
buddy
welcome.
Tobias
Awesome.
Wayland
So my name's
has
Alexander
written an
Petakov.
article
I'm a cryptozoology researcher
that
and filmmaker.
really is
I have a
kind of
YouTube channel
interesting.
called
It's about
Sasquatch
upright
Out of
bear in
Shadows,
North Carolina draws
executive producer
comparison
on
to
Chasing
Bigfoot.
Legends, which is
And
available on YouTube,
sometimes
as
we
well
need
as
to
a
definitely have our
frequent
minds
Small Town
open
Monsters contributor
to
slash filmmaker.
This
is
I
just a
think
very
that
hard
Bigfoot
topic
is
because there's
is
just so
undiscovered
many awesome
ape, but
things with
he brings
the
up an
subject of
interesting
cryptozoology.
some images of
I could pick
this
almost
bear was shown
any of what people
standing
talked
up
about,
on
what Tate was
hind
talking about
legs
being out there
for
researching, just
10
meeting some
minutes,
great folks.
and that's pretty crazy. It's a fun read,
when those
and
were
definitely
happening. There's
check
some
out
starting to come back now,
Tobias's
and
stuff
I'm really
over at
excited to be going to some events coming in
singularfortean.com.
the summer and the fall.
Again,
but,
they are
the cons, the cryptozoology conferences, that kind of stuff. They're so much fun. But one of my favorite experiences.
Full disclosure there, but it's good content.
As I mentioned, very hard
All right,
to pick, but
continuing
I would have to say,
on, continuing
some of the people
on.
that I grew up
Also, I'm going to do a
reading,
little quick reset of the room. This is the 5-minute cryptozoology news.
Really
we are
been
going
cool
through
to kind of
different
meet some of
news
them and actually
items
become
that have to
friends
do
with
with
them. I mean,
cryptozoology
people
in some
like,
way
Dr.
that
Jeff
have
Meldrum,
occurred throughout
meeting
this
him
last
multiple
week.
times
If you
at
have any
conferences, having him on my
comments about stories I'm
podcasts
sharing, feel free to raise your
shows, as
hand
well
and
as,
come up on
Lauren
stage.
Coleman, who I
Sharon is hanging
befriended
out
and
with me
actually
right
become
now. Thank you
sort
for
of a
that.
representative
And then
of the
at the end,
Cryptozoology
we'll have a
museum. I was
time
reading his
for
books
if
when I was
you
in
have
middle
any
school,
other
and-
stories to
and
share.
now we have this kind
Again,
of funny
this is
relationship.
recorded.
He
It
thinks
will be
I'm,
put up
some
on
kind of an international
YouTube. But
spy,
this is kind of
which I
a
think is
fun
hilarious
story
and,
that
pretty cool that Lauren
came out of the
Coleman thinks
BBC
you're a spy,
Newswire.
So I'll take it.
Mystery
But yeah,
Tree
just
Beast
stuff
turns
like
out
that,
to be
just so many
croissant.
cool people
So
that I've met, a lot of the folks in
here's a
this
story.
group as well. I mean, everyone that I know.
When animal
Obviously, I don't know
welfare
everyone in the group, but
officers
hopefully
received a report
over
of
that can
unusual
change.
animal
There's just some
lurking
great
in a
people
tree in the
community,
Polish
and,
city of
yeah, that's
Krakow, they were
definitely
not
one of my
sure
favorite
what to
parts of it all,
expect.
so.
Pretty much,
Moving on,
they
let's
thought
see,
it
I'm
was
gonna
some
pick
crazy
my bro Eli
iguana
here.
or something, orange iguana, and it turned out to be a huge croissant pastry.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eli Watson. Thanks for tagging me,
So you never
Alex.
know what you're gonna find. And before you freak out too much about an unknown animal, definitely do look a little bit closer
as a
into
hobby,
it. So
and then,
thanily they weren't
just
attacked
kind
by
of
the
slowly took
croissant
over
there.
my life.
So
I'm fairly new
Okay.
to kind of
The next one.
cryptozoology. I guess that's kind of my confession.
I really hope we have some discussion on this, guys,
I
because
still
this
get
is kind of
embarrassed
huge.
when people bring up things that I have no idea
here's
what
the
they're
thing.
talking about.
There's a
close
statue
buddy,
of a
Carrick
Mothman
Alex
in
and I
Point
know
Pleasant,
he
West
was
Virginia.
talking
You
to
may
me
know
a
about
lot
this guy.
about Dr. John Bindernagel
Here's what's
last
going
night.
on with the
I had to
Mothman
admit
statue.
that
And to
I've
get the
never
whole
read any
story, you have to be active on
Bindernagel's
a lot
work,
of different
and
social
I don't know
media
much about
networks.
the
You
man
have to be
himself, so,
active on
for me,
TikTok,
I'm
Facebook,
still
stuff like that.
trying to
Pretty
soak up
much
as
what's
much knowledge
happening
as I
is people
can.
keep coming up to the Mothman statue,
So,
and they're leaving these
yeah,
cans of baked
I'll go
beans
ahead and pass
around
the
it. And I
torch
suppose
on to
it all
Hold
ties
on,
back
hold
from
on.
what I found
Eli,
out
hold
to
on.
a game called Fallout
You've done
76,
some
where there's
really
a cult
cool
about
stuff.
the Mothman.
What is the
game
what's the
and
coolest
baked
thing
bean
you've done
cans
so far? I
somehow,
mean, you've done cool stuff, dude.
somehow involved, right? So here's the thing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Is it funny? Yeah, it is.
Well,
Is it a waste of baked beans
I
if
should
you
add,
just
yes,
leave it
I'm
there?
also an
Yes, it
executive
is.
producer
So
on
another
Chasing
thing
Legends, along
is
with Aleks. And so
there are
that kinda
little
stems
pantries
into
around the town.
coolest thing I've
Leave
ever
the
done,
baked
I
beans in
think,
there.
is
Sure, take your
probably
picture,
some of the
but then let's have the baked
stuff I've
beans be
done over
put to
at Lake
use too.
Champlain, just
Another
being
thing is
out there, just going out.
I'm using this
on the
platform to
water
kind of
with
get a message
Nash and
out
Alex.
to listeners. If you
And,
do decide
on
to do
the-
this,
on the little
please,
boat
like,
that we were with,
be
the
aware
diver,
of what's going
Gary
on, because
Lefebvre, who
it's at the
discovered
point
a
where like the
shipwreck that
mayor
had
of the
been launched
town
for
is
like
kind of
200
like,
plus
hey, this is
years
funny, but not
underneath
really.
the ocean,
And
and
wouldn't
just
it be
him
terrible
showing
if
us
like the
what
statue
like,
got taken out of the town. Can you imagine if the Mothman Festival
and how it's
without
really
the
just like
Mothman
this
statue? I mean,
really insane
take your funny picture,
underwater
but
mountain
also
range,
like
and it goes up and
don't
down. I mean,
ruin
he
it
took us to this
for the
one
rest
spot where
of us. So
it's like in the middle
that's
of the
my
lake,
thoughts
and the water's
there
only
about
knee-high.
the Mothman
So you
statue
could be
and
standing out in the
the
middle of the
baked
lake, and you
bean
take one step, and it's
can
300
controversy.
feet
If
to the
anyone
bottom.
else has
All of a sudden, to me, that's
thoughts
just,
on
like,
that,
really
definitely
cool,
feel free
and I
to
was really
chime in
fortunate to go on
or
that trip
raise your
and just
hand.
check that out.
But
I think it's kind of interesting that the statue.
that's awesome, Eli.
The
Thank you so much
statue
for sharing
represents a
that.
lot of
I'm
things.
super excited
You know,
about
it is
what
somewhat of
you
a
and
queer
Alex
icon
are going to
as
do in
well.
the future
I think it's
with
quite
Small Town
interesting that
Monsters. That's some
it's
cool stuff
drawing
too.
a whole lot of other things.
Before we go to the
vision
next
to the
person, I just
town
want to do a quick
besides
reset of
the
the
fact that
room.
it's supposed to
We're kind of
represent
just
this, you know, the
introducing
legendary story.
ourselves,
So quite interesting.
getting
That's
the
a great
cryptid
story,
community on
Jeremiah. Good one.
Clubhouse
Yeah, and it's definitely
to know
great
each other a
how
little
this
bit
icon can
better.
be
So
used for
if you want to come on
all
up
different,
and introduce
cultures,
yourself
and I think
to
that's
the
a
rest
really
of the
cool
group,
thing.
make
Ashley,
some contacts within the
definitely
community.
welcome to the stage. What thoughts do
share
you have?
how you got into cryptozoology.
Yeah,
What's
well, I was
what's
in
maybe
one of
your
these rooms recently, and I spoke
cool
about kind of
experience,
the
one of your
pushback
cool
that the
experiences that have
townspeople
happened so far. Feel
are
free.
giving with the whole
There's a
Mothman
lot of
thing.
people down in the audience
And
I would love to hear
this
from.
definitely doesn't
But
help. I mean,
Eli, go ahead
Point Pleasant
and
is very
you
fun.
can pass
You
the
know,
mic
it
to
is
someone
very,
next.
gimmicky when it
Yeah,
comes to the Mothman
I'm gonna
stuff, and
pass
it's a
it
good
off
time. But
to
one of my
Sarah of
friends
the
recently,
Snallygaster
he
Museum, who I have
finally
not
traveled,
talked to
made it to the
yet.
statue, and he took a picture, and it's
Oh
just
no,
like
Eli, I already
littered
went
with
and it
all
was
kinds of stuff. And
out
as
of
somebody that's
order. I'm
there
so
quite
sorry. You should
frequently, I mean, that
definitely
doesn't
DM me on
typically
Instagram and I
happen.
will tell you a fun story.
But you know,
Okay.
unfortunately, I
Right
mean,
on.
like you said,
We
yes,
got
take your
Mike or
pictures, do your thing, but
Greg
you
or
know, if people
Lisa, I
keep doing this,
believe.
they kind of ruin the
Let's
fun
get
for
Greg.
everybody. I mean, the
Greg is the
townspeople
one
there
who
don't
tagged me
want
into
a
the
surplus
group
of baked
tonight,
beans at
so
their
thank you.
statue. So, and that's,
I'm
you know,
sorry,
it's just not
everybody.
going to
I did
help,
tag him.
you know, the residents
Um,
kind of get more comfortable
my
with the
name
idea
is
of their legend.
Greg
So that's just
Morel.
my take on
Morel.
it.
I think
However you want to
that's
say
a
it.
great
2
point.
R's,
You
2
know,
L's.
leave the statue better than you found
I
it.
think
D,
I
thank
got
you for coming up on
into
stage. What thoughts do you have about this?
cryptozoology. Well, I guess I got an
The
interest
thoughts I
in
have
it
about this
as a
are thoughts
kid
that I
with
often
movies like
have when I hear
Harry and the
about
Hendersons,
things
and they're always
related
like
to Point Pleasant and the Mothman.
unsolved
And then I think that
mysteries and stuff like
sometimes people
that,
lose sight of
like
the
little
fact that
clips
for the
of
people
the
of Point
Patterson
Pleasant, Mothman
Gimlin
is
film,
closely
and
tied to
it's
the
always been in the
Silver
back of
Bridge
my head, and I
collapse.
really got into it
And
during
so we're lucky
the
that they've
pandemic,
kind of embraced
so I
Mothman
haven't
as
been
this
deep into
figure
it
that,
for that
you know,
long,
they'll put a statue up in their town
and
and
I
they'll,
guess
you know,
it's
allow
inspired me
a
to
festival to
host
happen there.
an
But to me,
Instagram page
Mothman is
dedicated
always
to
a
all
reminder
the
of
weird
the fact that
things,
lives
and
were
I just
lost in
called it all the
association
weird.
with that story.
Um,
And so I
I
think, you
think
know,
the
respect is
coolest
owed
or
to the
my
town and in a way to the
favorite
statue
thing
too,
that's happened so
so that,
far
like you
is like,
mentioned, it doesn't
yeah,
get
like
taken
pretty
away
much
from
what
us.
everyone's saying totally is
That is
the community meeting
that is
everybody, making
fantastic
some really
viewpoint,
good
D.
friends.
I've never actually
And
thought of that. I mean, it's
yeah,
possible people in
it's
that
all about the
town
people,
are
I
definitely
think, and
very
the stories
close
and listening to each other
related
and
to people that could have,
keeping these
you know, lost
legends
lives in that
alive, you know
tragedy.
what I
And like,
mean?
yeah,
Other
thank
than
you
that,
for
like
bringing that up. That is a
I
really,
made
really good
some
point.
buttons for my Instagram
All
page, and
right.
I
Unless
was
we have
able
any
to
other thoughts
send a
on
bunch
the Mothman
to
statue, I've got a
Cliff
few more
Berkman
to
and
share
Melissa
here.
Berkman's
So
museum, the North
this one's
American
really cool,
Bigfoot
especially
Center,
for people in
and
the Midwest,
they're
because
I
Midwest we
told them they
don't
can
get a
just
lot
give
of
them away
cool
to
cryptid stuff. But
visitors who come in.
so
So
gentlemen,
they thought that was cool. So
Hart
yeah, if you
making
want
big plans for the
all the
World
weird
Myth Museum,
pins, you
and
gotta
this
go
is
down
really
to
cool.
the
So
North
pretty
American
much it's
Bigfoot Center
a sculpture
in Boring,
artist
Oregon.
who created a traveling
That's it,
exhibit
and I
called the
think all
Gardens
I
of
will
Myth. And if you
ask
are a longtime fan of
Lisa
Bigfoot
to
Society,
come up.
you've seen
Lisa,
the
you haven't
picture
been
of
up yet,
me
right?
No, I have
standing in like a
not.
field
Come
with
on up,
flowers with a
girlfriend.
huge
Hey,
Bigfoot
thanks.
sculpture
Hi, everyone.
behind it. That's
I
at
am
a
Lisa
large
of
garden
Cryptid
center
Comforts,
area arboretum
and I make
just outside of Kansas City
weird
Museum.
little
And
stuffies
we
that are
took a family trip there,
cryptozoology
and
monster
it just happened to be
themed,
during this
and
amazing
some other stuff.
exhibit called Gardens
So
of
what
Myth.
got me
And There were gnomes, there were minotaurs, there were Bigfoot, there was anything weird that you could throw. There were dragons, and just huge things.
Deep into cryptids,
Pretty much, this guy is making a huge museum where it's going to have massive sculptures about world myths, cryptozoology, stuff like that. 25-foot tall young dragon is going to be involved. It looks like very cool stuff. So I plan on interviewing this guy because part of that is kind of like what
was
made me
too
want to get
limiting,
into the
and I
podcast as well. I
decided
got
to
kind of
do
inspired
a
by seeing all these
unicorns,
sculptures.
dragons,
There's
and
a whole lot of
Bigfoots
different
class,
reasons.
and it started off
The other
with doing
thing, I
some
like
research
drawing
into
attention
Bigfoot,
to different
which led
accounts
to
if they put
so much
amazing
more.
content
And
out.
I mean, I was familiar with Mothman.
If you're listening to this and you're not following the
and things
Sasquatch
like
archives
that,
on
but as
YouTube,
I
you
started
really,
diving
really
deeper
need
into
to.
cryptids, it became a cryptozoology class. And
Todd
yeah,
just
it was
released a
called Unicorns,
video
Dragons, and Bigfoots.
yesterday. It's Renee DeHinden
And it got so
discussing
popular
Paul
that I started
Freeman
a second
Footprint
class
Cast,
called
but it's
Mermaids,
updated
Krakens,
with
and
Dr.
Sea
Meldrum's
Monsters, oh
comments,
my.
which is really
And,
cool. I can't
yeah,
wait
so
to
that's
listen
what
to
got me
this video
into
later on
cryptids,
tonight,
was
but
just
definitely
kind of
you'll want to
doing
check that
the
out as
research.
well. But yeah, at this
And my
point,
favorite
if
thing
anyone
about
else
it
has
is, like the
any
rest of you,
other
the
articles
community.
or news
I mean,
items or
it's
crazy
so
stuff
great
going on with
having
cryptozoology,
so many
feel
amazing
free
people
to raise your
that
hand. I'll give you
are into this
a
weird
few minutes,
stuff
but I
that
definitely want to
you're
make sure
into.
that I
And
didn't
the
miss
festivals. The festivals, actually, it was the Oregon Bigfoot Festival also helped me really kind of push, because I was making stuffed animals before I started doing the
This is
cryptid
going to be
stuff.
posted on
And
the Bigfoot
the same
Society
year that I taught the
YouTube,
first class was
probably
also the
later
first year of the
tonight,
Oregon
and
Bigfoot
also
Festival,
on
so I signed up to do that.
BigfootSocietyPodcast.com.
And that
Under the
actually
Clubhouse
really helped
section,
get
there'll
me into
be
this too.
different
Just seeing that, oh, this is a
different
really
resources to
great
check.
community,
Yeah,
a cool
I've got
environment,
it. There we
and
go. My
it's
alarm was going off,
also
my bad. But
more
thanks to
profitable
all
than
for
regular
hanging out.
stuffies.
Actually,
So
Aleks,
that kind of helped push
I don't want to
me
put you on the
towards
spot, but I
cryptids.
kind of
But the
do. Can you
festival
give us
life,
maybe a
that's what I miss the
5-minute?
most,
I don't
and
know
I'm
if you're
so
if you're
excited to get
available.
back to it,
Do you
planning
mind
my
talking
tour,
about
as
how
some of you may
the
have
trip
seen on
out west
Instagram,
went?
and I'm super excited.
Yeah.
All right, so it is time to pass the mic.
And
on
Aleks,
to Mike.
I'm
Mike,
doing
before you go, I want to
you
interject
to
one thing.
Definitely talk about how
if anyone in the
you're doing
audience
recap
wants
episode
to
this
come up
Monday,
on
so this
stage
may
during
be
like
a
a recording
teaser
part
for that,
for the
you know?
podcast,
Okay, so
definitely raise your
disclosure, I
hand
am
now
at
so we can get
currently
you
at
up.
Pep Boys
After
getting
Mike, I'll
my
probably stop
car
the
tire
recording,
fixed, so
and
this gets
then
interrupted. I'll
anyone
try to
who's
keep it
been
quick, but
waiting till after
so
the
yeah,
recording part, then they can
this
talk. But
coming Monday
Mike,
on
go
my
ahead,
live
man.
stream Sasquatch Out of the Shadows on YouTube. We're
Hi,
gonna be doing
Mike.
a recap
I am
episode of
the
the Small Town
co-host of
Monsters
Where's My
expedition
Sage,
to the Pacific
A Taste of the
Northwest. So
Universe, with my
we spent
co-host
about a
Christy
week out
London.
there
Christy's
with the
down in
Olympic Project, which in my
the
opinion
listener
is one of the
section
most
down below.
legitimate, I suppose,
I
Bigfoot research
kind of got
groups
pulled
in
into
the country and
the
the world. I mean, they're
cryptid
just
world
absolutely
by
incredible
showing up at a
people.
Bigfoot festival
We were shooting
in
2
Chautauqua, New
documentaries.
York,
So
where
actually
I
today
met Steve
is the
Culls,
premiere of on the show
and he's a
Bigfoot: The
Squatch
Journey,
detective.
which we
Steve
filmed
pulled me
last
into
June in
his
the
group,
Adirondack Mountains.
which
But
led me
in the Pacific
joining up
Northwest,
with
we were
Nastro, which
filming
is another
the
Northeast
follow-up to it,
Sasquatch
which will be
group,
called On the Trail of Bigfoot: The
which in
Discovery,
turn
which is
led
about
to
the
a trip
Olympic
down to
Project, and then
Pennsylvania
my
to meet
film,
Eric
which is kind of a
Altman and
companion
his
piece
team
called
and get pulled into
Beyond the
the
Trail.
Pennsylvania
I'm still
Bigfoot
working on the
Society down
second part of
there.
the title, probably the
And
Olympic Sasquatch or
from
something like
there,
that.
I
So basically, they
formulated
kind of go
tactical
hand in hand.
Bigfoot research, which
But
I
we got
coordinate
to spend
with a few
time at
scientists,
the
and Christie's on
so-called
my
nest
team.
sites that the Olympic Project has
I
been
come from a
researching now
background of
since about
archaeology
2016.
and anthropology and law
Since they
enforcement,
were basically
so
told about
being
that,
able to
people reached
use
out to
my
them. A
background's
surveyor
been pretty
discovered these
cool
strange
as I do
nest-like
research
sites in
into the
these thick hemlock
stories of the native tribes in
huckleberry
the
forests
area
right
that I live in
the Olympic
even as we
Peninsula.
move and follow
And so we were actually the
Bigfoot
first film crew
Sasquatch
to really
legends
go in there and spend
across the
time in there.
country and the other
Myself
cryptids
and
around
Eli
the world.
Watson,
It's
we
it's been
actually
an
camped
awesome
out
thing.
at the site
The
with
best
Shane
thing I
Corson
found
and some of
about
the other
this
Olympic Project
whole
members. For 2
situation
nights in
is
a
be
row, we
able
were
to
the
get
first
out
people to
in
ever
the
camp
woods
out
with other
in the immediate
folks,
vicinity of the
learn
first
about
nest that we
their
discovered in 2016.
theories. I've been able to get out in the
Just
woods
having
with
been there, it
Aleks
absolutely blows me
and the
away.
guys from Small Town
The
Monsters.
area, so you have these
Got out with
9-foot tall
Matt. He's down
huckleberry
below. He
bushes
does
all
Central
around that are
Florida
just
Bigfoot.
so difficult to
Was
get
out with
through.
him
The
in the
motivation
swamps
to
and
get
getting to
through
look
an
at
area like
swampy.
that is just
So the
crazy.
camaraderie and
So
the folks we get to meet
they discovered these
and
nests. A
between
surveyor actually was
the cryptid
working
side and the
on a
paranormal
piece of
side,
land there,
because I do
discovered
ghost
these nests. He'd been
investigations
working for
with
30
Christy.
years all across the Pacific Northwest.
It's
This
been
is
a
the first time he'd
really
ever seen anything like
cool
this.
ride.
And they basically
and it
what was done was these enormous nests that were made out of huckleberry branches that were woven together. And snapping a huckleberry branch with your bare hands, I tried it. It's extremely difficult. It's a very thick branch for whatever reason. Even just a small twig-looking thing is very hard to manipulate. So they've basically been able to eliminate the possibility of elk, a bear, and cougar being the three primary animals out there, aside from black
white-tailed deer.
Thank you, Mike.
As the
Thank
culprit.
You, Mike.
So
I mean,
it's
dude,
super
I gotta have a conversation
really
with you someday, dude. You got a lot of stuff going
They've trickled some
on.
information
Feel
out, but they're
free
not one of these
to
kind of jump the
pick.
gun groups.
I believe we have Chris and
They've really spent
Experience
time doing that. And they
left.
found
Feel free
about
to
26
pass the
different
mic to either
nests
one.
up and down this wooded area
Go ahead and
on
pick
the
up
ridges
Chris.
near a river where there's salmon runs. So
Thanks,
they're
Mike.
very strategically placed,
Hey,
and it's just a
everybody.
super interesting
Chris
place.
here.
We got to spend time there
I'm
and
from
their
Alien
properties
Zoo
they have in the
podcast.
Upper Olympics, where there's been a
And,
lot of
let's
roadside
see. All right,
crossings
origin
as well as
story.
other activity.
How I
We
got into
actually
cryptozoology.
were on the trail of a mountain lion
Well,
as
it
we
all
were there
started,
and found some pretty great
around
tracks right as we were up
1996.
there. And there's some
I
possible
believe I
audio we
came
got that night, but
home from-
we're
it
having
was
David Ellis,
either a
who's one of
typical
the
day,
leaders of the
second
Olympic
grade or third
project
grade,
and a
and I
sound
walked through the door
expert.
of my
He's kind
house,
of
and my
looking at the
father
audio,
hands me,
and overall it was just an amazing
this
time.
article from the Boston Globe.
This
And I
Monday we'll be
actually
doing a
kept it all
recap,
these
as I
years.
mentioned on
have
my
it in
live
front of
stream. We're going to be
me here.
having
It's called
on
A Tale
basically
of
Seth, his
Creature
wife,
Discomforts, and he handed it to
Eli
me. I look at
Watson,
it,
Aaron
and I see this
Gaskin on the
interesting
crew,
creature on
probably
the
a couple of the
front.
Olympic project
Half
members will be
humanoid, half
making an appearance
reptilian.
as
It's got
well.
big eyes.
And
It's
that's
got
8 p.m.
scales and
Eastern
spikes,
on
and
YouTube,
it was
Sasquatch
my
Out of the
first hearing
Shadows.
of the
So that'll be really fun. We're going to be talking about the
And,
films and then, kind
ever
of our
since then,
experiences out there.
I've
So
just
that's
been
pretty much
crazy
it.
about the unknown, specifically cryptids.
Aleks, thank you so much for coming up and sharing that all about that. I'm extremely excited for
It's crazy.
Monday
The
night. That is
best
going to
thing
be
about
some
cryptozoology,
awesome
oh my goodness,
chats
where
that
to
you
start?
have.
I would say,
Well,
as long as there's imagination,
we are coming up on half an hour. Believe it or not, this is really starting to turn into something else. But one more chance, if anyone has anything else to share, cryptozoology.
I have something really
go ahead,
really quick,
yeah.
Jeremiah. There was an article that came out on April 8th in Hakai magazine, which is affiliated with the Atlantic magazine, and it talks about the story of refinding a new octopus species that was once thought lost, but the zoologist researcher was able to use people's local stories to determine that the species still did exist, and she was able to then capture it again. This was Callista octopus furvis, and it reminded me of the story of the Sirens reticulata. Same deal.
Man, thanks,
specimen
Chris.
existed but was lost.
I didn't know you went
knowledge
to
was
look
lost,
for the goat.
and
Man.
the researchers were able to use
That
locals and their stories to determine
Mr.
that the
Experience,
species was
thank
still
you so
around,
much
and they were able
for
to
coming
capture it. So
on
some
stage,
good
hanging out with
zoological
us.
news.
Guys
awesome.
and
Like,
gals,
I
if you
love
don't
that
know
where it's
Experience,
like,
you got to follow him. He's the head of, Experience is the head of the Extra Paranormal Society Club on Clubhouse. And yeah, go ahead, Experience, and definitely if you could share about that awesome room that you guys are hosting tomorrow night, that would be really cool.
Absolutely.
Right,
Thanks,
well,
Jeremiah. Yeah, my name is Experience. I'm the founder of the Extra Paranormal
I'm going to go ahead
Society,
and shut
club
down
here
the
on
room, but
Clubhouse.
thank you again for
Started a few months
sharing
back. We're over
the stories all,
21,000
and
collectively
for spending a half an hour
members
with
and
us.
followers.
We'll be doing
I'm
this,
actually
of course, every Saturday
I'm confirming with Lyle again
afternoon
tonight, but
at
there's
1
supposed to be
p.m.
tomorrow at
Central,
7 p.m.
and I am
my
going
first
to start putting
Cryptozoology
them
room
up on
with Lyle
YouTube
Blackburn,
now. So if Bigfoot
who's
Society
very
YouTube,
well-versed
you can go to
researcher in the field.
BigfootSocietyPodcast.com under Clubhouse.
So I'm looking
I'll have
forward
the
to
links
having
there.
an
And then I will
in-depth
have a link to
conversation
the
with
YouTube
him
video as well.
on everything that he's experienced and
Again,
researched up to this
thanks
point.
all. If this is your first time hanging out in the Bigfoot Society Clubhouse, definitely tap where it says Bigfoot Society at the top. Follow this club. We'll get you hooked in so you don't miss any conversations. Our main room we have is Wednesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Central, and we have a good time discussing stuff.
Loch Ness
all
Monster.
the time. Thanks again for hanging out all, and I will be chatting with you next week.
Like
I'll go ahead and close down the room.
That just survived, right? Like some kind of dinosaur that just was able to thrive really deep in the loch for some reason. And somebody mentioned Lake Champlain.
Opinions expressed
are
those of the guest and
monster or some kind of
official policy
huge creature there as well. So I've just always
Any
been
content
into
our
all the
guests
different
are not intended to malign
possibilities
religion,
of creatures that
ethnic
are
group,
out there that
organization,
have been
company,
elusive and
individual,
not super
or
been able to be
individual.
documented, including the chupacabra, and then more recently Mothman and his kind of crossover between being a cryptid and possibly extraterrestrial. So I'm super into the subject. I'm learning more as I kind of deep dive into this stuff again. So happy to join the club and pop in here when I can, and then definitely expand the conversation whenever I can open this cryptid room.
Cryptozoology room starting tomorrow. Please, you guys are always welcome to hop in and definitely listen. So.
Thank you, Experience, for coming up and hanging out with us. It definitely, anyone in the audience, if you have if you want to come up and chat during the recording, this is last call for that. Also, if you just happen to stumble in here and you enjoy talking about cryptozoology, definitely tap Bigfoot Society at the top of your screen next to the little greenhouse. Hit follow. You'll be notified about future rooms that we will be doing. Oh, Nick, yeah, come on up, man.
Hey, thanks for letting me jump in here. Happy to join in tonight, guys. My name is Nick Valenzuela. I run California Creepypasta. It is a website that kind of covers all the strange and unusual of California. Cryptids are a heavy focus there. And my love for cryptozoology really started basically as early as it gets. I mean, I heard a couple of people mention sightings. That was a huge influence for me as well. Really kind of opened my eyes to, being able to go out there and document this stuff in a media sense, even at a really early age. And I mean, I'm out here in California, not too far from places like Willow Creek, where, we got the Patterson-Gimlin film. I think on my Instagram today, I have a story about the original location of the Fresno Nightcrawler sighting. So I've had a chance to kind of jump out there and kind of deep dive into some cool cryptid locations out here in California. I've even got a chance to hop onto a boat in Lake Champlain and check out some champ stuff. So there'll be more I can talk about on that soon. But yeah, my love for cryptozoology definitely just lies in, being able to kind of interject yourself into this mystery and see if we could find any answers. And the community is great. And I've made a lot of great friends with you guys. So yeah, it's been a fun ride, and I love every second of it.
Hey Nick, have you been to the Patterson-Gimlin film site yet?
I'm sorry?
Have you been to the Patterson-Gimlin film site yet?
So I have been nearby. I've never actually been to the exact site. That is something I'm planning on doing this summer. But I've made my way up to Willow Creek. I've checked out the museum, kind of done all the like touristy things. But I've talked to a couple different people on Instagram about kind of gathering a little team there and documenting kind of the journey into the Patterson-Gimlin site. So that's like prime on my list.
So it's funny you're talking about going in the summer. So the Bluff Creek project that I work with, they're the ones that actually rediscovered the film site. So they've been going up there every year, and then since I joined, we've been going up there I've been going up there every year. So you can feel free to join us. The official dates, all the guys are going to be up there. We'll take you down on the film site and everything, and then another friend of mine is going to be coming up. That's July 9 through 11, I believe.
Yeah, I'm in, man. I'm 100% in on that. That's like my Mount Rushmore right there of cryptozoology location. So I'm definitely 100% in on that.
Yeah, our main camp is literally just probably a few hundred feet from where Jerry Crew casted the first Bigfoot tracks ever, and that's where the name Bigfoot was coined. Was all in that area too.
Right. No, definitely. Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of been like the coup de grace story that I've been waiting to kind of drop on California Creepypasta, just because, so much that goes not just behind Patty and Frame 352, but just like the story of Roger and Bob and what they were trying to do and accomplish, and just sort of the synchronicity of, running into a Bigfoot while they're trying to film a Bigfoot documentary and everything that goes into that. I'm 100% in on going down there and telling that story a little more in depth.
Awesome. Yeah, I followed you with the podcast Instagram. So
awesome. Thank you.
We can get in touch probably sometime later in the month.
Yeah, for sure. Just hit me up and I'm in.
Awesome.
Okay, I have a free-for-all question inspired by that little conversation. If there were cryptids on Mount Rushmore, which would they be?
Ooh, that's. I mean, you gotta pick the big dogs.
Can we do 4 for each?
I think it would be 4, right? Yeah, 4 sounds good. I don't know. So, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, whatever. Loch Ness monster, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a picture.
Mothman.
No,
Mothman, maybe Chupacabra. That's my.
Van Meter visitor, Van Meter visitor, and the Van Meter visitor, and the Van Meter visitor.
Yeah, I don't think Chupacabra would make it in, but I don't think the Van Meter visitor would either. Sorry,
Jeremiah. He's from Iowa. Come on.
Hey. Hey.
I think the Kraken.
Probably the Jersey Devil, eh?
Oh, that's good. I can go with that over Chupacabra.
See, I don't know if this would be the Mount Rushmore, but I have 5 what I call gateway cryptids. It's Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Mothman, Chupacabra, and Jersey Devil.
Oh yeah, I agree.
From there, you go to Ropens and Van Meter monsters, and you're just down the cryptid rabbit hole, and you're addicted hopelessly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Do you have a choice, Cliff? I saw you unmute there.
Oh, I was seconding the big 5, the Bigfoot, Nessie, Mothman, Chupacabra, and the Jersey Devil. Those seem to be the big 5 that always popped out in all the literature.
Yeah,
always.
I still feel like Krakens would be higher on the list than the Jersey Devil or the Chupacabra.
I'm very surprised to hear all this Chupacabra love, because I didn't think anybody really cared about him.
I love Chupacabra too.
Chupacabra's a big deal.
Which version of the Chupacabra though? Because there's like 2 versions.
Okay,
Puerto
so like
Rican.
I grew up. Yeah, Puerto Rican Chupacabra is great, but like I grew up in Texas, so like we had all the Chupacabra sightings, and I just didn't think other people cared about him. I'm really happy.
Okay, the Puerto Rican one is definitely like the original. The American one, or whatever, the Southwest one, is just like a lame hairy dog. So let's not even.
Yeah,
go
Texan Chupacabra pops up once every 2 years.
Yeah, the Chipotle Chupacabra pops up all the time.